Your phone buzzes at 9:47 on a Tuesday night, and you already know before you look at it, because there's only one person who calls this late instead of texting. Jordan. Your best friend since 8th grade, the guy who drove 4 hours to help you move apartments twice, who sat with you in a hospital waiting room the night your dad had his heart attack, who has never once asked you for anything in 15 years of friendship. He's asking now. $50,000. He says it fast, almost apologetically, like he's been rehearsing the number in his head for days and still can't make it sound smaller by saying it quickly. His food truck business, the one that's been written up twice in the local paper, the one with a line out the door on Friday nights, has a chance to move into an actual storefront. A real kitchen, a real dining room, a corner spot 2 blocks from the college campus that a competitor backed out of at the last minute. The landlord needs a deposit and first month by Friday, or he's giving it to someone else. You could send it right now. You could open your banking app while he's still talking, transfer it in under a minute, and hang up the phone 45 seconds richer in relief and 45 seconds lighter in a decision you haven't actually made yet. $50,000 against your current position is real money, but it's not the kind of number that would show up anywhere in your life 6 months from now. You know this. You do the math without meaning to, the way you always do, and the math says yes before your mouth says anything at all. But you don't say yes. Not yet. You ask him to send you the numbers instead, not because you don't trust him, but because you've learned, slowly and at some cost, that the question underneath, "Can you lend me money?" is almost never actually about the money. He sends over a lease summary 2 days later, 6 pages, and you read all 6 pages twice at your kitchen table with a legal pad beside you, because that's what you do with numbers that matter to people you love. The lease is a personal guarantee, not the business, him. If the storefront fails, the landlord isn't coming after an LLC with nothing in it. He's coming after Jordan's apartment, Jordan's car, whatever Jordan has. You ask him if he knew that. He says his lawyer mentioned it, but it seemed standard. You tell him it is standard, and it's also the single most important sentence in the entire document, and you're not sure he read it as carefully as the number at the top. You ask about the build-out costs, the ones that never make it into anyone's initial excitement. Kitchen equipment, health department permits, a hood vent system that alone can run $15,000 to $20,000 depending on the space. He hasn't gotten quotes yet. He's been so focused on securing the location that the actual cost of turning an empty storefront into a working kitchen hasn't fully landed. You ask what happens if the build-out runs long and he's paying rent on a space that isn't generating revenue yet. He goes quiet on the phone in a way that tells you he hadn't thought that far. This is the part where you could just write the check and let him figure the rest out as it comes, the way most well-meaning people do when someone they love is drowning and asking for a rope. But you've watched that particular kindness go wrong before, watched money hand someone a faster route to the same cliff instead of a way around it, and you'd rather spend 3 uncomfortable weeks asking hard questions than 3 comfortable minutes avoiding them. So you tell him no. Not no to helping. No to $50,000 showing up in his account with no plan attached to it. He goes quiet for long enough that you think the call dropped. Then he says, quietly, that he thought you, of all people, would understand. You tell him you do understand, and that's exactly why you're not sending it yet. You spend the next 3 Saturdays at his kitchen table instead, the same kitchen table where he taught himself to develop the recipes that built the food truck in the first place. You build a real build-out budget with him, line by line, calling equipment suppliers together, getting actual quotes instead of Jordan's optimistic estimates. The hood vent system comes in at $18,000. Permits and inspections add another 6. The number that felt manageable at $50,000 doesn't feel manageable anymore once it's next to real figures instead of hopeful ones. You help him negotiate the lease terms instead of just accepting them. A shorter personal guarantee period, capped at 18 months instead of the full 5-year term the landlord initially wanted. A rent abatement clause for the first 60 days to cover the build-out window, so he's not paying full rent on a kitchen that isn't cooking anything yet. His lawyer, when Jordan brings the revised terms back to her, says she's never seen a first-time tenant push back that effectively and asks who helped him build the counter-proposal. Jordan doesn't mention your name. You never asked him to. Then you help him find the money, not $50,000 from you. A small business administration loan he qualifies for once his paperwork is actually organized the way a bank wants to see it. $22,000 from that. A microlending program specifically for local food and beverage businesses that most people never hear about because it doesn't advertise. Another $11,000 from that. His own savings, more disciplined than you expected once he actually sat down and looked at where his money had been leaking, covers another $9,000. He's short by roughly $6,000 from what the real, fully quoted build-out actually costs. That $6,000 you do send him. Quietly, no interest, no timeline, the same way you've always handled money between people you trust completely. It's a fraction of what he first asked for, attached to a plan you helped build instead of a number he panicked into asking for, and it lands completely differently, both for him and for you. He signs the lease 6 weeks later, the shorter guarantee, the rent abatement, the build-out budget with actual contingency built into it instead of hope. He calls you the night he gets the keys, and there's a specific kind of crack in his voice that happens when something you worked for finally, actually arrives. He tells you he couldn't have done it without you. You tell him he did the work. You just asked the questions nobody else was asking. You never tell him you could have sent the full $50,000 from your phone that first Tuesday night without it touching your life in any way you'd have noticed. That's not a secret you're keeping to feel superior. It's a fact that would have changed what he thinks he built, and what he built, the version he actually owns, matters more than the version that would have arrived faster and meant less. There's a specific loneliness in that, one that doesn't get easier no matter how many times you sit with it. Understanding a situation more clearly than the person living through it, holding the option to remove the entire problem in under a minute, and choosing 4 Saturdays and hard questions instead. It isn't guilt. It isn't quite selflessness either. It's something in between, something that doesn't have a clean name, something you carry quietly the same way you carry everything else. The storefront does $40,000 in revenue its first month, more than double what the truck alone ever brought in. Jordan sends you a photo of the line out the door on opening night. No caption, just the photo. You save it. You don't post it anywhere. Don't mention the $6,000 or the 18 months of guarantee negotiation or the 3 Saturdays at his kitchen table. You just text back a single word, proud. He has no idea what that word actually costs you to hold back. He probably never will. Some things are better left as a number and a decision only you carry.